Patience in the majors, patience with prospects. We'll talk about which Guardians players, prospects we need that with, taking your mailbag questions. And we have some draft talk, MLB draft, that is.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cleveland, this is for you. I'm back in Cleveland finally, and Jeff and I are back together, I think, for a decent amount of time again. I think are healthy and don't have any vacations planned, so I think we're
no tornadoes
right now for a little bit. Yeah, well,
hopefully no more tornadoes and flooding here.
Hopefully no more of that. Yes, but we are back together again, and we should be again for the foreseeable future until summer at least. And this is Locked On Guardians. You come here because we talk about your Cleveland Guardians every single day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And we're doing all that today on a mailbag episode of the show. I'm Justin Lada. That's Jeff Ellis, of course, if you are new here. And Jeff has been doing this for 8 years. I've been doing it for 4. We've both been covering the minor leagues and the draft and the prospects for 19 years each. On today's show, we'll start off with it. Well, later on, we'll get some questions about catching, because everyone wants to ask about catching internally and in the draft. And we'll talking draft today, because there's a draft going on. We know Cleveland loves the draft, right? And we start the mailbag off taking questions on who to be patient with and how patient to be. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Jeff. So the first question we're opening in our mailbag comes from our friend, the co-creator of the Rally Dyno, David. I know you brought the Rally Dyno back the other day.
People loved it. People loved that. I didn't see one negative comment. I didn't see the one guy last year who yelled at me for playing with my toys. So yeah, let's have fun. All right, let's make it fun.
I mean, we're not going to go out and copy the Guardians. What is it? Their medieval helmet. Like, I thought about going on Amazon and buying one. I was like, that's the Guardians thing. Well, we have the Rally Dyno. Maybe we'll figure something else out.
I wore my medieval times crown, the like $10 one I got for my 30th birthday.
Yeah,
not quite as expensive as the one they have.
Yeah, not quite. Probably not. I found one on Amazon that was really expensive, by the way. And I was like, my wife was like, don't buy that. And I'm like, we'll see. And then I guess it's like, maybe
your wife
want to leave it.
Listen to your wife. Listen to your wife. You don't want, this is my unsolicited mailbag advice. Like, don't make an expensive purchase after your wife says no. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's what I'm going to say on the show today. It's for anyone out there. That's just that one out there.
David wanted to ask, patience or panic on these 3 players: Tanner Bibee, Cade Smith, and Bo Naylor.
Patience for Tanner. I mean, last outing was good. And you know, Houston, I don't think is a good matchup for him, because that's a power hitting team. He is a little more home run prone. Like, that's part of like his game. He does give up the long ball, and he pitched great. It was a fantastic outing. So I think I got nothing but patience for Tanner. Cade, patience, but a little bit of concern. I thought you can go back and listen to one of my solo shows where I talked about him. I think part of his problem is he's falling behind instead of getting ahead in counts, so guys don't have to chase his stuff. And that's, they got to work on the sequencing, and they got to work on what's working and what isn't. And he's got to get his command back to where it was. Bo, I don't feel like I can panic, because I didn't buy into the whole like breakout. I didn't buy into the Savant page, because it's classic. There's very little, only a few games to take it from. It's like, Bo is Bo. Catching is very hard to do. It's also funny to be the number of people
so slow on catching. They're so slow on.
Well, everyone is, and it's just funny. Like, I feel like a week ago, the people who were yelling in the comments about David Fry should be cut are now yelling that David Fry should be the starting catcher. So it's just like, I'm still gonna see what happens. Like, you got some time. You got some. You got to give him at least half the year, and if he continues to be what he has been, then you have a backup catcher because of his defense. Like, he's at least a backup.
Yeah, and he does have power, even if he doesn't get to it all the time, and he draws walks sometimes. So there are qualities there. I mean, Bo Naylor is going to play in the league for a long time because of all that, and because he's well liked in the clubhouse and
bilingual. That's huge.
Put in, That is. Well, not really for this team because, we were just talking off air about all the pitchers on this roster that don't speak Spanish anymore. I'm trying to think of anybody on this roster that
I don't think there's anyone.
Any pitchers who speak Spanish?
No, I think it's all white bread.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Festa apparently speaks Italian, but I don't think Bo speaks Italian, so that's not going to help that out there. I guess Daniel Espino comes up, but he speaks English, and Franco Alemán speaks English.
Yeah, maybe Yorman Gomez. I don't know Yorman Gomez as well as
the only one as far as I can think of. Yeah, I mean, I'm not panicking at all on Tanner because he's had some good starts this year. Like if you take away the Atlanta start, actually I got these stats from a friend. 25 2/3 innings this year, 2.45 ERA, 125 WHIP, 22 strikeouts, 10 walks, and 25 2/3 innings. So the walks are a little bit high, but that's pretty good numbers outside of the Atlanta start. We know you can't take those away because it still happened. Got to figure out the fastball shape, got to figure out the sequencing. But I mean, it's fine. And there's no reason to panic anyway because he's locked into that contract. So he's going to pitch through it no matter what. And nothing else he can do. He's got to be the guy that goes out there every fifth day anyway. And I'm also plenty of patience on Cade Smith. I don't have any panic right now just because the command issue has been kind of weird. And we know in the minors he had those problems. I think as long as he gets his second, the other night he gave the run in the big comeback. He gave the run in the ninth inning. He was pulling his fastball. He's had success now in the major leagues that I feel like he's going to figure it out. So I'm not worried about Cade Smith. And Bo Naylor, same thing. Yeah, I didn't buy into the I know I put the graphic up here on a couple days ago. And I did a solo show too. And the Savant data looks great, but sometimes that doesn't work, as we've seen. Patience on all of them.
Especially in the small sample. I'll say data can be so skewed right now. It's still kind of early.
Yeah, there's no other option. Kevin O said, this is speaking of patience, what will it take to bring Fairchild up? He's hitting good at Columbus. Do we send down Burrito or Fry? I mean, I still think there is a place in this roster. Stuart Fairchild, whatever he's hitting at AAA doesn't matter, by the way, because A, we know AAA numbers are, you can't evaluate, and B, you've and Huntington Park. And Fairchild does not hit the ball hard. He's not a guy who's going to come up here and fix this offense. He could play a good center field that would allow you to maybe use at second base every day or shortstop if you wanted to give Brocchio a day off. It'd be nice to get another right-hander in the lineup, I guess, against lefties in the outfield who can play good center. David Fry's not going anywhere. This team was so patient last year, letting him come back and just DHing all year and unable to play the field. They love having him as a catching option who can play their positions, and they still believe he's going to hit left-handed pitch. He's not going anywhere. I wouldn't be against bringing up Fairchild to play some outfield and sending Burrito down if you want to use Schneemann at second. But as you were talking off air, the backup infielder and Angel Martinez really is not a backup infielder. He's more of an emergency infielder at this point. So it's a little tricky on that. You would need to make two moves. So I think Fairchild is just not on the roster because there's not a good fit right now because of the injuries.
Yeah, you have to essentially replace an outfielder to do it, and it's not going to be Brito and it's not going to be Fry because he's also your third catcher. So they're not going to move on from the current outfield group. And as well as he's hitting, there's just not a great natural fit for him. And this is a player throughout his career who's been a below average outfielder. And I think it speaks extensively to what's going on in terms of AAA inflating some numbers at points that, he's putting up the numbers he is. So I think he's kind of stuck. I think barring an injury, I got to be honest, unless there's an injury to an outfielder, I think he is going to be in AAA.
And you don't want that. Year.
No.
You don't want that because you need Valera, you need DeLauder, you need Schneemann, you need Angel, you need Kwan. I don't even know where he would get at bats. Who would give up at bats for Fairchild? Yeah, your only option would be move on hell to second base, I think. And it just doesn't make sense to do that right now. So there's really no room for to get at bats. All the guys that are playing in the outfield, you want those guys to be getting at bats right now. So
yeah, and Kwan and DeLauder are everyday guys, and Valera is a bit of a platoon guy at points, but they're not even pushing that one necessarily. So there's just no spot.
Yeah. All right, you thought we'd get through the mailbag without a Travis Bazzana question? Of course not. We've got Travis Bazzana questions. We've got prospect questions. We've got draft questions. I know Jeff is always itching to talk MLB draft, so we're going to do that on the rest of today's episode of Locked On Guardians. Stick around. So many events going on in Cleveland all the time. We got Major League Baseball. There's concerts. I'm going to so many concerts this year, and I love anything. Baseball at the fresh starts. We're starting the year off great and seeing a lot of breakout rookies. But whatever you want to go to see tickets to, getting in can feel like a grind, right? Like concert tickets are a real pain these days. You have surprise fees, queues, prices jumping at checkout. Nobody likes that. And that is why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives advantages back to me and you. They use constant innovation to unlock amazing tickets and experiences for you in just a few taps. Really is simple to use. You get 100% authentic tickets thanks to the Game Time guarantee. They're delivered on time, and the price you see is the price you pay. So there's no surprise fees at checkout. You can always check the last minute. Maybe you want to go to a Guardians game last minute and you want to check what the weather is going to look like. It's Cleveland. So, and maybe that concert you want to go to, the prices are crazy. Check Game Time. Maybe the day before. You'll get some good offers. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and anything with Game Time. Download the app. Create an account. Use code LOCKDOWN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And of course, make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. You get ad-free episodes of the show every single day. You get access to the group chat with me and Jeff and other listeners of the show. Over on the Discord, we're talking we got some questions from there for the mailbag show. We also got questions from our insiders too, if you want to do that. But we have the subtext group, which is just texting, news, questions, all that fun stuff. And we have the group chat on the Everydayer Club, along with ad-free episodes of the show. So go to lockedonguardians.supercast.com or check the links in the show notes to learn more. Of course, we got Juan Brito questions. We also got Travis Bazzana questions. I want to get to those because Bazzana did hit a home run on Thursday night, Jeff. He did hit his now off the bat for in Cleveland. So this question comes from Emily in the group chat, Everydayer Emily. Do you think the success of the rest of the rookie class in the AL impacts Bazzana's timeline now that Kevin McGonigal's nearly a 2-WAR head start? Murakami has 10 homers. Is it minimal risk at this point for him winning Rookie of the Year and losing that extra year by now?
See, I don't know if it was ever like that concern about. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was that concern, but I feel like he went down because I think there were some things I want him to work on, like legitimately. Like there's just struggling with the sliders, and there's other things, getting him to be more aggressive, less passive, as well as I think the Super 2 deadline matters. Like you're expecting him to be an impact player. Him getting to arbitration quicker means his earnings go way up. Like if he becomes an impact player and he's a Super 2 guy, it's going to cost you a lot earlier. So I don't think it changes things. I don't think it changes the calculus at all. I think, and also I got to be honest, like I think they were happy to have 2 defensive guys, and I think they do want to see, as much as like I am not like I'm done with Brito, like I let it kind of be known. I think everyone knows that about me. As much as you were done with Gabby this offseason, I am currently probably a bit unfairly done with Brito.
No, it's fair. I think that's fair.
But I think they want to see everyone they have. They want to give this kid a chance. Like I think Brito was always going to get a shot before Bazzana because they went out of their way to add him. And there was people who talked about Brito and said like, there's a little bit of Jose in him when they watched him swing and hit. And like there's people who really believe in him, and this organization believes in him. And I always think to some degree is more about giving him that opportunity because all he's done is hit in the minors. He's been a professional hitter down there. So I think it was always kind of Brito was going to get first chance. That also helps you delay things with Baz. I think we'll see Baz eventually, but I don't think how good the class is really affects or changes things, if that's logical.
Yeah, you're probably right on that one. I mean, it is probably out of the question now. If he were to come up like even tomorrow, I'd be very surprised if he caught up with the way the rookie class is. But then again, those guys could also hit a wall. Like the league could figure them out. They can get hurt.
Like Wilson a year ago.
Yeah, so those things happen. Like you never know. So there's still that question. Of course, we had a question from Everydayer John too, who said, "How much longer does the Brito experience go?" And I think, okay, here's a good way to phrase that: does the Brito experience last until Gabby comes back, or do they make a change because the only other change, I guess, would be Bazzana, right? So does Bazzana debut before Gabby comes back, and that ends the Brito experiment, or do they wait for Gabby and bring him back and send Brito back down?
I mean, I think we're probably going to see them wait until Gabby. As much as you and I have been like, oh, I was very much like anti Milan Tolentillo too, but I'm like, you know what? I came around. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be anything spectacular, but it's like he can play defense. He's got enough things here. Like, he might be a future utility guy. He might have some Daniel Schneemann-esque qualities to him, with defense and things like that, and the ability to maybe play a few positions. But I don't think he's a priority prospect, right? And no other team jumped on him as a Rule 5 draft eligible, and utility guys go. I mean, Christian Cairo got drafted 2 years ago, and Christian Cairo, the Phillies put on their 40-man. Like, that guy has had more value, even though I don't understand it, than Tolentino. So I think, yeah, they're going to see what they have. They liked Brito a lot. They believe in him. Young players, development isn't linear. We talk about that all the time, right? So it's been ugly. It's been about, if you get rid of those first 2 games, it's one of the ugliest recent debuts for a prospect, with the defensive miscues costing him a game. The offense is stagnated. But they're going to give him time, and they have a perfect short window to test. And I think all of this, one thing we're going to take away is, hey, we all appreciate Gabby a little bit more after this, don't we?
Yeah, just because the defense is very reliable, and he was having some good offensive moments, whereas I think Brito's best offensive moments were like the first week, and then he hasn't really had one since. Yeah. I said yesterday on the show that my biggest issue with Brito is the fact is that bats just don't look good. Like, he's not even drawing walks, which is he was a very patient, like you said, professional hitter in the minors, and that's overwhelming him.
Yeah, they're just throwing it low. They know.
Yeah, and one of our insiders, Kevin S., also wanted to ask about Tolentino being a serious prospect or not. So I think we answered that, Kevin. He's not. He's a good future backup utility guy who hits left-handed, who does have some pop in the bat. Like, a lot of his power is coming in Huntington Park, so he's taking advantage of a hitter's haven. But a left-handed hitting shortstop with a little bit of power and plays great defense, and you can play him at second, short, or third. I think that's going to give him a major league future somewhere, even if it's not Cleveland. So Kevin G had a question about Bazzana, and so did Josh. So we'll combine those, and Jeff will put the cart before the horse a little bit here. With Bazzana mainly hitting leadoff in the 2-hole in the minors, which he's mostly been in the 2-hole in the minors, not really leading off. Where do you see him in the lineup when he debuts, and then maybe September, October? So where do you think the best fit in the lineup is for Bazzana when he comes up?
That's a really good question.
To start, and then where he ends up.
That's an excellent question. I think with the way this team is put together, I'll start with where I think he ends up, and I think that's leadoff. Seeing a lot of pitches, having DeLauder hit behind him, the fact that this is likely Kwan's last year in Cleveland or next year is. So I think, it opens up, that leadoff spot is going to open up soon. And then you could have 2 guys at the top of your lineup who have excellent control of the strike zone and just be a royal pain in the backside for opposing starters. So I think leadoff, and he runs well. Like, he's not a speed demon by any means, but he's a guy who's, runs well. So I think those 2 there. I think when he comes up, how high do you put him? I mean, I almost feel like he's probably going to slot in 6th maybe in the lineup. Like, I think you could be kind of aggressive, but I feel like, 1 through 4 is pretty set. And even in that 5-hole, they've kind of gone with more of one of the vets, someone like Hoskins or Fry or something like that.
Maybe they put him at 5th quite a bit.
Yeah, so. Valera's at 5 as well. So it's like, I think he could be 6 or 7.
I think you're right. It's 6. And I think leadoff is where he is in the future. I don't know if that's going to be September. Depends on if Kwan is still here or not. Yeah. This is why I wish Jose were hitting second would have worked out, because ideally you could have Bazzana leading off, Jose second, DeLauder third, or Kwan third, whatever you want to do. Like, you could split them up a little bit. That's why because like Jose being a switch hitter really breaks that up. Having DeLauder or having Bazzana and DeLauder back-to-back 1-2 is nice, but they're both lefties, and that's challenging sometimes. I know they're doing it with Kwan and DeLauder now, but it's a little bit different when we don't know what the platoon splits are going to look like for Bazzana, whereas Kwan's been neutral. Not that he's played well this year so far, but I mean, ideally my favorite lineup would be Bazzana, Jose, DeLauder, 1, 2, 3, but we know that's not going to happen. Jose is locked into the 3-hole at this point, and I'm fine with it. I just going back the years, I wish that would have worked out. But yeah, I'd say 6, and then eventually he's definitely a leadoff hitter for this team, because like you said, Kwan is either gone this July, this December, probably. I don't think he's here next year, unless the value this offseason is so bad that they can't even trade him, that they bring him back. So then, man, I wouldn't be against Quan being back next year, because not like they have a whole lot of outfielders that are breaking down the door. Like, it's what, DeLauder and it's the same guys, right? Like, Petey Halpin's not breaking down the door, and
no, he's struggled, and they don't have a great center fielder option, and hopefully we'll see Churio get a promotion soon. But I know you're not necessarily sold on him being a center fielder, anyways.
Yeah, and Rosario
more than I.
Yeah, and Rosario just hasn't really proven that he can hit breaking stuff. So, like, they don't have any outfielders pounding down the door. So Quan being back next year wouldn't be the worst thing. And I don't know. Then you have Quan, Bazzana, Jose, DeLauder cleaning up. That might be fun. Yeah, I could see that.
100%.
Yeah. All right, we've got a couple more questions we want to get to, especially about catching. And we got questions about the draft. And I know Jeff is ready to talk MLB draft always. So we're going to get to that next on today's Locked On Guardians. Thank you all for making Locked On Guardians your first listen tonight, every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We love being part of the daily routine because we love showing up no matter if the Guardians have an off day, if the Browns are drafting, if the Cavs are losing their playoff game. We're here talking Guardians baseball every single day. Like we always say, majors, minors, drafts, everything in between. We're covering it all, and we do it every day, and we love it. We love it because you guys show up and chat with us and sit around and talk Guardians with us. So, hit the bell on YouTube if you haven't. Make sure you get the videos sent straight to your phone, whether it's a reaction video to a game, news, all the episodes, whenever we go live. And then, I was flying home on Thursday. I listened to a couple podcasts, so I had them auto-downloaded in my feed. If you do that, you'll never miss an episode. It'll always be there for you because even when it's not your day, your week, your month, and even your year, we're always here for you. So thank you all. All right, let's get to a catcher question, Jeff, and let's get into the draft a little bit. Matt, asked, because everyone's been asking about Cooper Ingle because he came out of the game with an injury the other day. It's not a promotion. Matt asked, injury aside, can you see Ingle in Cleveland this season before September? Mike said, is a Cooper Ingle call of imminent? No, it's not. And then Todd said, catching always a good discussion. And then he said, any catchers to target or hope to sign in the draft. Let's start with Cooper Ingle. So I don't know what the injury was specifically, but he came out with a leg injury. He was definitely favoring his leg when he came out of the game. So he didn't play on Thursday night. Cody Huff caught. So for now, Cooper Ingle just looks like he's day-to-day. I haven't seen anything. Cleveland is so patient about catching. Like, we talked about this the other day, didn't we, about the Mike Zunino thing? Like, they took forever to pull the plug on Mike Zunino. And they had Bo Naylor up in Cleveland at the end of 2022 in the playoffs just to get his feet wet because they knew next year would be his year at some point. And they took forever to pull the trigger on that one. And right now you've got Bo, who Stephen Vogt believes in very clearly about he's getting unlucky as a hitter. The data agrees, but that doesn't mean the data will even out. And then, they love Austin Hedges. If they decided to give up on Bo Naylor, Austin Hedges would be starting most of the games, and you'd have Fry. So they wouldn't be carrying a third catcher. Like, it would be Hedges and Fry if they were to give up on Bo Naylor. So I don't think Cooper Ingle is coming up anytime soon. Maybe you get him. I don't know. If you have three catchers in September, how can you call him up? Because usually in September, when the rosters expand to 28, you bring up a catcher and a reliever. If you already have three catchers, you can't bring up a fourth. So I don't even know where Ingle fits. Like, I have a hard time believing it.
So one of the things I'll say too is when you're looking at the situation too, I think the other problem is, like, at his age, Austin Hedges can't be an everyday guy at catcher. Like, he just can't. Like, he's going to be kind of limited by natural wear and tear.
Sure.
So I think that also kind of limits how much you can lean on him. And with the value this team places on framing still, even in the day of ABS challenges, like, it's still a very limited amount you can challenge. Ingle doesn't have that, and Cooper Ingle is everything that is kind of blown up with Bo Naylor being too passive, being the guy who's sitting there getting a lot of production because of high passivity and waiting to pounce on the right pitch, which allowed him to be successful in the minors. That's Cooper Ingle to an even higher degree. Like, Cooper Ingle has a lot of Bo Naylor in him. So I don't see a pathway to moving on there yet. I do think you could see him this year just because I still think he's a good prospect. I still have him as a top 10 prospect, and he's got to be added, I believe, after this season to the 40-man no matter what. So they'll add him. You can always use more depth. Like, he's a fun catcher. He's just hit at every level. But when you look at the fact that he's literally the most passive player on the Prospect Savant page, like a 1% swing rate, like the lowest swing rate in AAA, along with some of the lowest exit velos, it's a hard pathway for success. It's going to be interesting. I think, and in terms of like catchers in this class, this team avoids catchers, right-handed catchers like the plague, and it's not a good catcher class in general. Von Lackey is going to be long gone. Ryder Helfrich might be gone, but he's a righty, and they've gone out of their way to not. They like left-handed catchers. Like, they sign left-handed catchers from Venezuela every year. Like, that's their. And the only 3-4 guys have really seen too much run at catcher for early talk is Tinney from Texas, who was just terrible on the Cape.
He strikes out a ton.
Oh yeah, he's. Well, I mean, hey, they took out the king. They drafted the kings of strikeouts last year with Schubart and Lavalette. So,
and 2 years ago, Cozart. So,
but Tinney is not the defender Cozart is. I mean, he's a solid defender, but he was also, again, like, he was just really bad in the Cape. And then Will Brick, the prep player, that's not going to bring anyone close. It's really not a catcher class that inspires much confidence in me. Probably looking then like even further down the board at I'm trying to think what the kid's name is. Then there's just then it's almost like Cider Cannon, like some of the fun names, those guys who are going to be more like in the 5 to 10 range in terms of the round. There's Brendan Bach at Oklahoma. I was trying to think who else. I'm blanking on, like, Winslow. There's catcher Winslow. So I think they might draft a catcher, but they also might not. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't take one in this class, because they do kind of have their levels set up. I mean, they cut a relatively recently drafted catcher with Johnny Tincher because they liked what they had to a degree. So I think what you see is what you get. I would not bet on Ingle before potentially a September situation, barring an injury. And I don't even think then, because you don't want a fourth catcher. And I think catcher-wise in the draft, it's just not a year for it. They'll take someone, but there's not a lot of great names. Daniel Jackson isn't really a catcher either, before someone brings that up. He's not a feature catcher, the Georgia kid.
Yeah, fair enough. Don't go looking at Jacob Cozart's AA numbers, by the way. It's not.
I brought that up on my solo show this week. It's
not good.
Hey, he had a home run tonight.
Oh, well, yeah, he did. You're right. So maybe he's turning it around. What other draft stuff do you want to get into? Oh yeah, we have a couple minutes still.
Yeah, so let's talk about a few guys. I want to bring up speaking of guys who strike out a lot, looking at their profile from last year when they took players who didn't chase and had big exit velocities. I want to throw a name out there. And they also like to take guys whose stock is down and guys who are hurt and things like that. But I think, and they like to take kind of weird-bodied first basemen. Myles Bailey is maybe a name you didn't expect me to bring up or talk about. And I'm sure Justin didn't.
No,
but when you look at his, I know you don't love him, but when we look at what they did a year ago and you look at Myles Bailey, when I go and I look at his page, he had the 10th best chase rate in college baseball before a horrific ankle injury this year. 90th percentile chase rate. What's his exit velocity? Second best in the 90th percentile exit velocity. Second best, almost 99th percentile exit velo. 90th percentile chase. Now his contact rate is 2.2 percentile. It is second worst in the entire class. But what is Nolan Schubart and what do Jason Lavalette have in common? They didn't chase. Big time exit velo. I mean, Nolan Schubart and Myles Bailey could be twins. Outside of the fact, statistical twins. I mean, obviously they're of different backgrounds, but statistically, those two guys could be twins. And Cleveland always seems to go for a first baseman. And I think just consider Myles Bailey. He has had some of the highest production in the country in spite of everything. My 25% K rate, he's under that. So he's a player. He's barely under it, but he was under it this year. He showed a lot of improvement, draft eligible sophomore in terms of his numbers before he got hurt. I know Anthony Everyday will be happy because I talked about a Florida State kid.
Mhm.
He's a big FSU guy. And then I got to talk about Aiden Robbins. He is a player I mentioned just not fair. I have a spreadsheet where I'm just entering SEC data, and it started because I was like, just how bad is Justin LeBron's SEC data? Updated. He's got a 697 OPS in the SEC. Not what you want to see for Justin LeBron. Aiden Robinson, on the other hand, his OPS in the SEC is 1.221. He's been spectacular. He's got 8 home runs. He's striking out only 20% of the time. He's filling up a sheet and doing everything he can. Aiden Robbins was really strong as well in the Cape a few years ago. It was not, no one really dominated the Cape last year, I would say, but he has wood bat performance. And, before transferring to Texas, Carson Tinney is a recent Texas transfer. They had a really good transfer class this year when I was talking about him earlier. But yeah, I mean, last year in the Cape, 307 batting average, 391 on base, 545 slug, 936 OPS. So I was wrong. He dominated in the Cape. He was awesome in the Cape. He's been awesome for Texas, stepping right into the SEC. Last year at Seton Hall, came from the Big East. He had 422. He went to the same high school as Nolan Jones, and there's some talk that he might be able to stick in center. So you're looking at a guy who he dominated the Big East, which, yeah, okay, it's the Big East, but then he went to the SEC, didn't slow down at all, has the wood bat experience. In terms of his batted ball profile, I'm trying to remember what player exactly, when I was looking at it, he was most similar to. Like, his is not as, it's not bad, it's not as sterling when I'm trying to pull up his percentages right now. Let's see. So he's 52nd overall, ranked 36 in chase rate, just below 20%. He does have some contact rate issues. He's 10th worst in the zone, and his exit velo is ranked 30th. So it's slightly in the green. So his batted ball isn't necessarily the strongest, but I believe his is right there with Drew Burris. Him and Drew Burris had very similar batted ball data. So it's, he's an interesting talent. And, again, Cleveland likes left-handed hitters. Here's a left-handed hitter who the batted ball data maybe is the one weakness we're seeing in his overall profile. But there was a time, cold weather bat, left-handed hitter, plays up the middle. Like, that was definitely big numbers in the Cape. That was definitely a Cleveland type for a long time there.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not Zion Rose? Like, I'm looking at all the data here too. Zion Rose has gotten better this year a little bit. I've always liked Zion Rose, but unfortunately he has no longer a catcher. Yeah. I like where Drew Burris's numbers are, I will say. Yeah. He's another right-handed hitter that I know, unlikely, but the numbers for Drew Burris are they're in line with Aiden Robbins. And I don't know if Burris is a center fielder or not, though.
He's not. And the other two big things are he was awful in his one wood bat thing, and then the height and the declining data every year. So, I mean, I don't think he gets to Cleveland, but I know BA had him getting there in their mock, and I see a world where it could happen. Let me put it that way. It could happen.
I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it either. But that would be the first time they had taken a right-handed bat in the first round since Clint Frazier.
Yeah. So, well, they broke a lot of things last year, so maybe they'll do that again this year. Speaking of breaking things, I hope we're not breaking things over the weekend because the Guardians aren't playing well. Jeff, got Gavin Williams and Max Scherzer Friday night tonight. That should be a fun one. Joey Cantillo and Kevin Gausman, that might be a difficult one. Gausman has owned the Guardians over the years, and then the finale on Sunday is Slade Ciccone and Dylan Cease. I don't like the matchup for Ciccone versus this Blue Jays offense, and Dylan Cease is also a very tough customer for the Guardians. I'm going to say the Guardians win Friday tonight, and then they probably lose Saturday, Sunday, and I'm hoping they don't, but that's probably where I'm going right now.
And then people revolt. I hope you're wrong. Let's put it that way. Hey, the Blue Jays haven't been quite the Blue Jays of last year in the early going, so maybe they can take advantage of that situation. We want to thank you all for joining. Remember to rate and review, download daily. All of that helps. We appreciate each and every one of you in here in the comments, or just who are listening quietly at home. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.